have different boundaries to adults and my parents. Adult boundaries are deadlines that they need to do at work or making tough decisions for their kids' boundaries. But my boundaries, kids' boundaries, are, for example, limited computer time, technology time, or you have to have an early bedtime. I think kids' boundaries are overrated and should become lower. Chicken Kievs every day, buffet, all you can eat.
Boundaries define who we are. They're all about our identity and our responsibility. So they make a line around where we stop and where we start and what belongs to us and what doesn't belong to us. They help us operate in the world safely and effectively. So they help us know when it's our turn to do something and when it's somebody else's responsibility to do something. The easiest way to work out what a healthy boundary looks like is to imagine that a circle is drawn around you and that everything inside that circle is inside your boundary. It's your responsibility. And anything outside that circle is someone else's responsibility. So inside that circle, we have, for example, our brain. So that houses our thoughts and what we're willing to learn, what we've already learnt. And we've got our mouth inside our circle, so that's how we speak to one another, whether we speak words of encouragement or whether we're negative. Our attitudes and beliefs are inside our circle. Our body is inside our circle, so we're caring for our physical body. We're also deciding what location that body is going to be placed in. So we're taking ourselves to work or at home, or we're spending that time somewhere. Our hearts and our souls are inside our circle. So that's all about our passions and our calling and our purpose. So that's our responsibility to pursue all of those things. There's two common boundary violations that clients come to me about all the time. The first one is going on rescue missions into someone else's circle. And the second one is taking something that belongs in our circle and putting it on the outside for someone else to pick up. When we're a person with high empathy, we're particularly prone to going on rescue missions into other people's circles. Now, a lot of the time this starts off because of a crisis situation. So, for example, at work there might be an issue where everything's on fire and breaking down and whatever. And normally, for example, you might be a team leader and you're not responsible for coding. You're responsible for the people management in the team. But when you're in a crisis situation, you might have to jump in and just help out on that spur of the moment thing because you need to get everything back online. But the boundary issue occurs where you then repeat that on a daily basis and keep stepping back into that coding role even though it's not your responsibility. In our personal lives, this might look like where someone's had something very tragic happen to them, or they're just really overwhelmed with sickness or other big life circumstances that they can't do on their own. So we step in because we're feeling that empathy and we really want to help out. So whether it's at work or in our personal lives, we're doing that, moving into someone else's circle and taking over for a short time something that belongs to them. And that's okay when it's a crisis mode. But what I want to talk about is that prolonged rescuing, that then we start to get into that space where we're always taking over things that belong to other people. And it might start off innocently enough, but then we're not sure how to give it back. Or on the other hand, we don't like to give it back because we're actually feeling good about being that rescuer and we're getting something out of that. So we're keeping that in place. Many years ago, I used to work in the Human Resources Department of World Vision, and we used to hear lots of amazing stories from the field, from people who'd returned from projects. And a lot of the things that struck me over that time was that they had a really amazing strategy in place where it comprised of a disaster relief and then the ongoing rebuilding of a situation. So they'd come into a situation where there'd been, say, an earthquake or a flood and people were in really dire straits. And in that place, they did step in and fulfill the needs that would ordinarily belong in that person's circle, like to feed themselves, to get clean water and shelter and so on. They stepped in and they provided all those things. The emergency situation went on for a shorter period of time. But then once that initial emergency had become stabilised, the important thing then was to have a long-term sustainable plan where the people themselves could start to take back those responsibilities in a meaningful way. And in this way, what World Vision used to do was partner with people in the community, the leaders in the community, get alongside them, find out what their hopes and goals were for the area, get their buy-in, and then also hear their solutions and so on. So they put experts in who would work alongside the people and teach them and train them. It's like that old saying, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, whereas teach him to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. And that is the way we want to approach our responsibilities and helping other people be empowered in theirs, in their boundaries. So once the crisis is averted, what you really want to be doing in your workplace, in your teams, in your personal life, is actually teaching transferable skills to the person who you were originally helping so that they can become empowered and take back that portion of their life and learn to be triumphant in that area. Sometimes we hand over something that should be inside our circle, and the main reason we usually do that is because we don't feel that we have the confidence to carry out that part of our life. So for whatever reason, we think that person will do it better than us, or we feel intimidated because they ask us if they can have it and we think they'll do a better job than us. So we tend to hand over something that rightfully belongs in our circle and let that go. Initially, that might seem like a good idea. I mean, after all, they're taking something that off us that we were worried about, we're feeling less anxious, they're carrying out the task for us. But after a while, what starts to happen is we become disempowered. And the more pieces of ourselves that belong inside our circle and our responsibility that we palm off to other people or let them take from us by intimidation or because we don't want to speak up and offend or whatever, the more we start to feel like a victim, because we start to take stock of what's inside our circle and we realise that there's hardly anything left that we have control over, and we start to feel powerless over our own life. So just like the scenarios before where we talked about getting alongside people and helping them rise up in their own strengths and be able to take over their own life and take responsibility for it, that's what we need to do for ourselves. And if we don't know how to do something that's inside our circle, we just need to learn. So lots of ways that you can learn. You can read a book about it, you can watch videos, there's so much information out there. You can find a mentor or a coach who's already doing well in that area and that you admire, and you can ask them for help. Or you can get alongside a peer or a colleague and make a little group where you can practice those boundaries safely and actually start to learn how to do that piece and then start to take it back and bring it back within your circle. So whenever we've set an expectation in our boundaries and we've repeated that expectation, the other person that we're in that relationship with has come to rely on that expectation. Human beings, sometimes we're creatures that don't like a lot of change. So it's very hard when you want to try and withdraw that boundary or move it into a different place. You're going to have to negotiate that and practice actually putting that out there and making it clear what you want from the new relationship and how you want that to work. It's natural to feel stressed when you're going to reinforce your boundaries or move your boundaries. It's just part of changing. Growth takes time, it takes work, and sometimes it's hard. It brings up difficult feelings and difficult emotions that you need to work through. It's just part of growing and being better. So work through those feelings, push through them, get alongside people that can help you, take on advice from people who've been there first, get alongside a coach or a mentor, read about it, practice it, and you'll get better and better, and those feelings will start to dissipate the more and more you do this in your life. Click the link below if you'd like access to a worksheet that will help you work through this boundary repair issue. Okay, so in summary, we're all travelling through life inside our own circles. Stay inside your circle, be aware of where other people's circles start and finish, and keep working on making your boundaries clear and strong. It's okay to go and help people, and it's okay to let them help you, but it's about consistency and sustainability of what's your responsibility and what's theirs. The end goal that we want here is for all of us to be feeling empowered and strong and knowing what we want in our own lives. Keep going, keep practicing, and let us know in the comments how it's working for you. Thanks very much.
Bye, keep being awesome. See you next time.